Okay, so here we have got a simple Hello World application, and for now you do not need to worry about the code that is written or the environment we are running in and how things are happening, but we will only demonstrate how compiler and linker works. So I would like to run the application, and you should be able to see output Hello World on the console. So you can see it here, and now let's talk about compiler and linker more briefly. Okay, so let's take a step back and think about this for a minute. What's the big picture here? What is simple compiler actually responsible for? So we write our C++ code as a text, and that's all it is. It's just a text file, and we need some way to transform it into application so that our computer can run. As I said earlier, computer can only understand machine code. In going from the text form to an actual executable binary, we basically have two main operations that need to happen, and one of them is called compiling and other is called linking. We'll talk about the compiling first, then we will cover the linking part later. The compiler actually does several things and it produces these object files. Firstly, it needs to pre-process our code, which means any pre-processed statements gets evaluated first. The compiler's job at the end of the day is to convert all of our code into either a constant data or instructions. Once the compiler does the pre-processing, it creates something called an abstract syntax tree. After that, it begins actually generating the code. Now, this code is going to be the actual machine code that our CPU will execute. We also wind up with various other data such as place to store our constant variables. That's essentially all that the compiler does. It converts the English like source code to machine code so that computer can execute it. Okay, now let's see how and where objects files are saved, and let's traverse to the project directory. So you can say this is our project directory and you can see main.cpp file here. Now all the build files are saved under this folder. If we move inside this, we can see there are few files. One of the file is main.obj. So this is was the object file we are going to talk about. So when the compiler compiles the individual C++ file, it always creates an object file for it. And then later, after linking, it also creates a exe file. Okay, so let's do something new. Let us add a file and name it, let's say math.cpp. So now we have two files in our project, and what I want to do is I want to compile both files. If I compile both files, you can see the compilation is succeeded, and now I would like to move to the our project directory and traverse. So now you can see we have two CPP files, and when we move to the build folder, you should see two OBJ files. So after compilation, for each individual CPP file, there is an OBJ file created, and at the end, all of these files are linked to one exe file executable, and then it is run. So we will talk about the linking later on, but for now, what is important is for each CPP file, an individual OBJ file is created. So another thing to know about C++ compiler is we have some common conventions. So for example, all CPP files are generally named with extension .cpp, and all C files are named with extension .c, and all header files are named with extension .h. So what happens is the compiler is able to know that this is a C++ file and it would be compiled using C++ syntax, and if it is a .c extension file, so it is by default compiled in C syntax, and .h, the compiler will understand it as a header file. So these are by default convention, but it is also notable that C++ compiler just treats these files as an input. It has nothing to do with that file. It is just files are just a way to feed in the source code. So practically I can name file whatever I want. So I can name a file um, main.exe, or I can name a file main.txt. It doesn't matter. But when I do that, I would have to also mention that what what syntax should it be compiled in, and if it is a header file. So in that case, we are not going by default convention, but it is also possible to do so. And so the important takeaway in this is the files are only for the feeding source code to the compiler. It has not no more value than that. Okay, so another thing that's interesting about this is you can see both main.cpp and math.cpp. Both files have almost negligible size because math.cpp is empty, it is taking 0 KB of size. But even if we write something, it is taking small amount of size. For example, main.cpp is taking 1. But if when we move to the build folder, we can see that main.obj file is taking 57 KB while math is taking only 1 KB. So what's happening here? Why the main file is taking so much amount of space compared to the math file? And to answer this, you can find you can see what's happening is it's related to this include statement. So what is happening is while compiling, as I said, the compiler first processes all the pre-processes. So what is this doing is it is including the IOStream file, and that IOStream file is a significantly large file with lot of features. And so when we are doing include IOStream, so this size of the obj file is increasing. So that is the reason why obj file is a lot larger than the math file. So if even if we write something here, uh, it it won't be as large as the main file because we haven't included any headers. So that was the reason why the main.cpp file was taking lot more size than main.obj file was taking lot more space than math.obj. Okay, so let's talk about pre-processing. So first thing a compiler does is pre-processing, and some of the popular pre-processors are hash define and hash if def, hashif, and hash if def. So these are the most popular preprocessors, and let's start with include. So include is the most simple one. So what include does is we say hash include some file and it will include that file. So how it does it? It is compiler sees the searches for that file and exactly parses the whole file and pastes it there. So it basically copies the file and pastes it to the to the code. So to demonstrate this, a good example would be what I want to do is I would add a header file. So let's add a header file. So inside the header file, let's do something like what I would do is I would define a semicolon. So in the main.cpp, I would like to compile this main.cpp once. So you can see it compiles without any error. So now what I would do is I would remove this semicolon. Now, as you know, mm, it should throw syntax error because we have changed we have not following the rules of C++. So let's try to compile it again. So it is showing we are missing a semicolon. So to prove that, what include does is simply copy and paste. What we will do is we will include that file. Uh, so let's include header.h. So we save it, and now what happens is when we try to compile it, it compiles without any error. What it does is when compiler what does at the beginning is it reads that we have to include header.h file. It goes to header.h file and it copies whatever it is in there and it pastes this over here. So it should modify it like this. Then after that it goes to the other stages of compilation. So this is basically what include statement does. Okay, so let's try something new. What if we want to see what preprocessed code looks like during first steps of compilation? So what I would like to do is I would like to reprocess the code into a file. Let's change the setting. So now, uh, after I compile something, there should be the preprocess file should be saved in the build folder. So now what I would do is I would write something in math. Let's say we only include the header. So what I want to do is I want to compile this and see if there is a new pre-processed file. So as you can see in the debug folder, I can see math.ia new file. So this is pre-processed C++ file and I would like to open it. So you can see that what it did is simply replaced it with a semicolon. So let's try something more. What I want to do is I would add something. Let's say I want to add a code. For now, we do not need to worry about what's happening. We we only want to show that what include does is simply copy and so in the proper syntax there would be semicolon here, and what I want to do is so if I compile this, you would see what it did is it copied the function as it is and it added the semicolon at the end. Similarly, we can do more also, like if we define a times here and we go to the math.cpp, we do here include the header. Then if we compile this, then if we look at the preprocessed file, what it did is same. It loaded the A into A from the header. So what we get from this is what in hash include does is simply copy and paste. So it goes to that file, copies whatever is there and paste where we write hash include. So that's it. And next we will work on hash define. Okay, so another interesting thing to look at is we previously saw that main.cpp's build file was much more larger. So main.obj was much more larger than mat.obj. So the reason I told that time was because iostream is a pretty much a big file and it has lots of features and code in it. So when we include that, so it gets larger. So now what we can do is let's first see for math. So this was the math.cpp and this was its pre-processed file. So for main.cpp we would like to look at its pre-processed file. So let's go to the build folder and we can see that main.i is present. We open main.i. So you can see that it is the preprocessed file, and what we want to do is I would like to scroll through this preprocessed file. So you can see it is a pretty much big file. So we are around 12,000 lines, and if we go to the end, I think it is about more than 50,000 lines. At the end, I think it is about 60, more than 62,000 lines. So that is why the file size of the main after building was large. So after pre-processing, the main.obj, after pre-processing, the main file was pretty large, and after the compilation gets completed, the object file is also large because it has lots of code in it. So that was the reason it was large. So let's move on to next thing. Okay, so the next thing that's easy is hash define. So let's write something. So hash define, what it does is it simply replaces a word for another. So let's define something. Like let's say hash define A B. So what it would do is it would search A in the whole program here and it would replace it with B. So to see what it does, what I would do is I would build this, then I would go to its preprocessed file. So you can see what happened here is it replaced all the A occurrence of A with B. So that's simply it. So hash define what is does is it replaces things. So I can do other things also like uh, for example if I do int, so 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 we define hash define int float. So let's build it. So what this should do is it should replace all int to float. So this is what define does. It simply replaces all the occurrence of the word to the second word. So hash define was simple, and the next thing, another important thing is we would like to look at if. So hash if what it does is it's enable us to include or exclude a part of code. So after hash if there should be a condition. So let's take 1 for true. So if true, this code should be included. So every if should statement should end with a end if statement. Okay. So we we wrote something. So if I compile this, we'll notice that we get pretty much the same thing. Nothing is different. And what we want to do is we put the condition as false. So now when we build this, you can see that the code part was not included in the pre-processing. So if enables us to include or exclude a part of code from the um, in while compilation, and similarly there are also other preprocessors that we can also talk about, but mostly these were the most simple thing. But however, one thing is now we know the first line of this main.cpp what it does, and some other things also like hash define and hash if what it does, and we learned about how compiler works and how pre-processing works in it. So and after compilation we always get a object file. So uh, and after that, after linking these objects we get a executable which we can run in our machine. So we'll talk about the linker part later. So that's all about the compiler for now. Okay, so let's try to visualize what output file may look like. So let's go to output file. Now what I will do is I will enable assembler output. So In a simple way, what I am trying to do is, as I said before, machine level language is difficult to understand. So what we want to do is we can view its assembly level version of this code. So if I build it now, in the build folder, you can see we will have main.asm. So this is our new file and we would like to open it. Okay, so now you can see like it is a readable version and things are happening here. And okay, so that's it for today's video. Thank you.